Sometimes it takes a second to get clear. Welcome, everyone, back to a brand new edition of Virtue and Vice, Brand of Wrestling, right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue, being joined once again by my esteemed co-host, the remarkable Robbie Vice. What's up?
I am remarkable. And just for the record, I still fucking hate Orange Cassidy. And that's just going to be my weekly thing until he's gone from TV. So,
well, you'll have to give me a better clip when we do this, because I already did that one last week.
That's fair.
I put him on Twitter, so
right. No, you're right.
I always find a gem from our discussion.
There'll be a gem.
So, what I want to talk about, this piggybacks off of several of our conversations from the past, but I want this whole video right now, 15, 20 minutes, however long we go, audio if you're listening on Anchor, to be about Baron Corbin. Ask me, why, Virtue? Why do you want to talk about Baron Corbin?
Oh, I know why you want to talk about Baron Corbin.
Well, I was out there theoretically for all the listeners in the out there in podcast.
Well, I think your listeners should know by now why, but let's jump right into it. Tell me, in your opinion, why do you love Baron Corbin?
So I hear, I listen to Russo a lot. So I listen to a show, Castrating the Marks, and they get clips from Keller, Meltzer, Alvarez, and they clips and tweets of what they actually say, and then they dissect them. It's a great show, very funny concept. So I've heard a lot of Keller, Meltzer, Alvarez, Mike Johnson, all those guys, right? Because I listen to that show.
Yeah.
So it's not it's for entertainment purposes.
Sure, absolutely.
And Wade Keller doesn't like Baron Corbin. He hates Roman Reigns. And they try to cut promos for him. I don't know if you've ever seen that on the internet. They actually take Wade Keller's voice and dub it over the wrestlers' talk. It's hilarious. It's on my Twitter. You'll see.
I think I've seen you link one of those. Did you link one recently with Seth Rollins or something like that?
Yeah. After this video's over, and if you're on the BigVitoBrand.com listening, go to my Twitter, because there was one posted recently about Kurt Angle, and it was in Wade Keller's voice. Absolutely hilarious. These guys have an agenda, as Vince Russo and Jeff Lane have pointed out several times before. Dave Meltzer is really guilty of it. And I give him the benefit of the doubt, right?
Like I said, Dave Meltzer is a great historian, right? It's just sometimes he kind of goes a little bit out there, and he's a bit of a mark. So,
but he'll say, Baron Corbin. So if you're a wrestling journalist and you're not being, unbiased, right? And you're actually picking sides of who you hate and like, and you're supposed to be a journalist with a fair newsletter, that's when I call you out. But this isn't about Dave Meltzer. The fact is, he hates Baron Corbin. He'll go out of his way to say, well, when Baron Corbin main evented, he had the lowest segments in Raw history. Okay? And they go out of their way to say he has a bad work rate. His character's boring. Well, the way I look at it, Rob, and I want your take, Baron Corbin, these guys are talking about, they cannot stop talking about Baron Corbin. If you really hate something, don't you just kind of ignore it and never want to talk about it? That's how I am. But yet I'm hearing all these Corbin haters constantly bring up his name and go on rants about him. Why would WWE not want to continue to book him as potentially a top heel? I'll believe it when I see it. Obviously, he took a couple weeks off, a month off. Now he's in the King of the Ring tournament, one win away from winning it. What do you think about Baron Corbin? I think he's as legit of a modern-day heel in wrestling as you can get. People want to see the guy he goes against beat him every single time. Isn't that what a heel's supposed to do? What is your take?
So I'm going to tell you about my roller coaster of Baron Corbin. Initially, when he came up, I was really high on Baron Corbin. I enjoyed him a bit in NXT. I thought he got a lot of unnecessary criticism. And then after a while, I actually started to not care for Baron Corbin. And that was up until, I don't know. I want to say when he started doing the stuff with Lacey Evans, though, I started to feel a little bit different again. I started to feel like what he was doing made sense in the terms of him being a heel. And I like Jim Cornette, and I listened to Cornette talk about the olden days of how people used to get stabbed, and like they would have to have security there because they would legit riot. Like they wanted to kill Ric Flair a few times, right? And that's exactly what Baron Corbin does. We were spoiled growing up when we had this weird Attitude Era thing happening where we had people like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and even Roddy Piper later in his career where someone was a heel, but they were cool and you wanted to cheer for them. And they were the ones that you wanted to win the matches. But if you look at old school wrestling, the heel is someone that you hate, that you don't want to see win ever, that you just want to see the guy beat the shit out of him. And that's what draws money. Now, another thing I'm going to say real quick is Chad Gable is the absolute worst person to put in this scenario against Baron Corbin, because that is a David versus Goliath where David needs to get stomped and just eradicated by Baron Corbin, because Baron Corbin is the greatest thing they have going on right now in the heel world, because outside of Corbin and Lesnar, what heels even have real heat now? Like I don't see it.
Nia Jax did. People say go away heat. And I debunk that every time. X-Pac heat, I don't even know what that means. To me, go away heat is a complete and utter silence.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you give any type of reaction, even if it's like negative reaction, that's clearly playing into being a villain.
Yeah, go away heat is like what Mojo Rawley gets, which is basically no reaction.
Yeah, Natalya?
Who?
Natalya? Natty? Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
So going back to that Attitude Era, so Stone Cold, they tried to have him be a heel as the ringmaster, but really when he became Stone Cold and he feuded with Pillman, people thought that's when they thought Austin was cool. Bret Hart, right? Bret Hart had to turn heel in the United States because there was no way they were going to boo Austin. But like before Rock got big and popular, he had a great heel run with the Nation of Domination when he booted Farouk out. Yeah. That was at least a year. He feuded with Shamrock for the Intercontinental Championship. So heels can have good sustainable runs, and then sometimes they can become big baby faces, right? Because, you like to see character development. I'm not saying Corbin has that potential, but I would love to see him get put. And when I bring him up as a sole topic of a video like this, I not only want him to win King of the Ring, which I hope they do. Like, if they have Gable beat him, I'm going to sit there and think, okay, you want to push Gable, but like, seriously? Well, you better make him like Daniel Bryan then if you're going to let him beat Corbin in the King of the Ring. But you can clearly have King Corbin and run with that, and people are going to hate it. Who knows if he's going to actually carry that shit around, sit on the throne all the time, or if he's just going to kind of do it for a few weeks and then, I don't need this crap. I'm king. I was king before this tournament. They can go a lot of directions with that. But I not only want them to make him King of the Ring, because people are going to hate it, which makes me happy. That's why I titled this video that. But I want Corbin to go to WrestleMania and whether he's challenging or somehow he gets it, I want him to be the top heel in the game with the Universal Championship picture on the line. Preferably he wins it and he goes to Mania, so people really want to see him lose, and then he puts that babyface over. But I don't care if he never holds the title and he just challenges for it. That's fine too. I want these people that hate him, the marks, the diehards, you know who I'm talking about. I want them to get so mad. They say they're going to, if he wins this or if he does that, we're going to stop cancel forever, no more network. But they never do that. I want Corbin to get pushed to main event status of Mania. Now, we know that's a loose term, Rob. There's 2 main events usually every WrestleMania.
Correct.
The main one always usually goes on last. I'm not saying Corbin should get pushed that way, but I would love to see him in a major title picture as the heel, with or without the title in the Mania season. I think the guy deserves it because people literally don't want him to have a job. Some people want him injured. So they, you know what I mean? To me, that's heel heat. What do you think? Am I asking for too much by wanting to do a mega push for him?
Not if they do it right. Now, exactly. my only thing with Baron Corbin is he comes off as he's not that strong. And this goes into something that you and I talk about frequently, is that we need to have heels who aren't just chicken shit heels that lose constantly but somehow still maintain their championship. That was a problem with Jinder Mahal. Had Jinder Mahal been booked correctly, I think he could have been a solid heel for years to come. So if they start booking Corbin as dangerous and have him win matches, and I still think, and you might, I don't know if you disagree with this or not, I think sometimes the heel should win clean. I think the heel should sometimes be dangerous because he's the champion of your division. He's the champion of your company. When was outside of Lesnar, how many heels have won clean in the history of WWE?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, right.
where's our wrestling trivia experts to answer that? I don't know. We know Jericho did it recently in AEW. Kudos to them for that.
That's what I'm saying, though. But in WWE, it doesn't have it. But I feel like someone who's going to be the face of your company needs to have clean wins on his record. He needs to be a credible champion. Now, if they book Baron Corbin correctly, I think he has the character, and I think him winning this King of the Ring is going to give him a new dynamic that he can use. And I want to see him come out with that crown. I want to see him use that scepter and hit people with it and cheat. But I still want him to be clean. I've said this story like 10,000 times. Growing up watching Hollywood Hogan, I know he cheated and did things, but he never had to. Hogan could win on any given night because he was fucking Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
We need that again. We need Baron Corbin to be a dangerous thing. People need to take him seriously. When they say you're fighting Baron Corbin, they shouldn't smirk and roll their eyes. They should be genuinely concerned as people were when Teddy Long said they were going one-on-one with The Undertaker. We need to have champions that do that again. And Baron Corbin has all the tools to be a top heel in this company. The writers and Vince McMahon just need to buy into it and actually make the push happen.
And this is why I like Corbin so much, especially lately, right? People can say, oh, when he was pushed in that authority role and on TV all the time, those were the lowest Raw segments ever. It's the creative writing. You tell me if Vince Russo had a Corbin in the Attitude Era for WWE, that wouldn't have got a huge rating if it was written for properly. It would have, people. For all the crap that they give Russo for WCW 2000, he pointed out recently, never once in his WCW, the 6-month run that he had in 2000, right? He had that initial 3-month run at the end of 99 where he jumped them up pretty good, but then he went home because he didn't want to work for a committee. But then they brought him back mid-2000, right around April or whatever. That's when he had that 6-month run everybody calls WCW 2000. He pointed out, and the facts are there, not once did ratings go down for 3 shows in a row. That's what they're doing these days.
Yeah.
So, to me, Corbin can be a great heel champion. And all the people that hate him that say, no, just go look at the figures. Well, okay, the great heel is supposed to help get a baby face over, but if you don't have a good, believable baby face for the chases, for the fans to get behind, no heel is going to be able to make anybody interested. So Corbin, to me, is the right piece as a monster villain. The next thing they need to do is find the right 1 or 2 top baby faces, and maybe they have them. Maybe it is a Rollins, but they need to write for them appropriately. I think they should double down on this. Not only do I want to see Corbin headline WrestleMania in one of the main matches as the top villain, because I could go without Brock Lesnar for a year, right? That's kind of been Brock Lesnar's role, right? I mean, more or less. Nia Jax should come out and coronate him as the king. And her return, I don't know, she had double knee surgery. She's a heavier girl. Might take her a while to come back. I don't know. I'd like to see her be in the Corbin role for the female division and also get a big match. They don't even have to go over, Rob. That's the beauty of it. They can just be set up in place to make the fans angry that they could go over, but ultimately, just like last year's WrestleMania, pay the baby faces off so everybody can go home happy.
Yeah, they could build the next.
What do you think on Nia now? Because to me, she's the only other one that gets true heat and people want to stab her.
So I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here. I don't much care for Nia Jax, and it's not because of her character. I just don't think she has it. And you know what? I'm gonna call myself out on bullshit right now.
But her let me guess what you're gonna say.
No.
Her wrestling ability.
You know what though? It's not that. It's not that. I need to get out of the habit, and I'm going to admit when I'm wrong. I need to get out of the habit of disliking wrestlers and blaming their ability because they get shitty writing. When she went out there and said that this championship is for all the girls who did stuff, she was booked wrong. She should be a monster heel. And I can't project how I dislike that on her as an athlete and as a performer. And that's bullshit on my part, and I need to stop that. So if Nia Jax, again, is booked correctly and written for correctly, she could literally be the next Awesome Kong with a longer career and probably better in the ring. So
let's see how you brought up Awesome Kong. And I'm fine with you not sold on her in that role that I want Corbin in yet, but you've left an open mind. You're not just going to do what all those smarks do. Nope, she can't work, don't like her. Corbin can't work, don't like, boring. you're at least leaving an open mind to maybe change if she or the writing can convince you otherwise.
It's the
I
writing.
respect.
Yeah, it's the writing. And again, I think that's something a lot of us do is we see writing in a certain character and we just write them off forever. And I'm making that my pledge right now to stop doing that. So no, Nia Jax she's not the worst person in the world. She's not the worst wrestler I've ever seen. She's not great on her promos, but guess what? It's the job of the writers, it's the job of the producers to put her in situations to be successful. And I do not think yet that has happened for Nia Jax on the main roster. Because you know what? In NXT, she was a pretty badass woman and she did a lot of damage and she was someone to be feared. She didn't come out with tons of makeup and her hair looking nice. She walked down to the ring, beat the shit out of someone, and she left. And that's exactly what her character should be.
And you know who else all this reminds me of? The hottest free agents in the business, Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, Enzo and Cass.
And we've talked about them too. Man, if either one of these major promotions that are basically going to be going head to head, WWE and AEW, and NXT is in the WWE bubble, or same thing. One of those companies better sign these guys. I mean, seriously. First of all, they can push merch, but they can draw heat because the certain demographic of wrestling fan that hates entertainment will boo those people. They didn't like Enzo as a cruiserweight champion, and so you bring them back. You have a Nia Jax who maybe still has some work to do, okay, and a Baron Corbin. You got potentially really good heels. I mean, yeah. And on top of that, Enzo and Cass are prime candidates to be heels, but yet you can turn them to babyface, and those fans that boo them will lick it up just like that because of the chants, and then you can sell some more shirts. I don't know if Corbin has that power. Nia Jax, to me, definitely doesn't have that power. So I would categorize them as lifelong villains. But an Enzo and a Cass, you could flip them back and forth on a dime, and that's all go to the creative writing. But the meat and potatoes of my argument here, when the fans are angry over Baron Corbin and him getting pushed, the more TV time, the bigger the role, King of the Ring, whatever, it makes me happy. People have called me out for liking Roman only because people hate him. That really never was the case, Rob, because I said I liked Shield from day one. Sure, I was a bigger Ambrose fan when they debuted, but when I said I liked the Shield, I liked the Shield. Every guy in the Shield makes the Shield, right? Part of that carryover of me liking Roman was because of that. There was a good chunk of time where I really liked Rollins too. So I was always faithful I liked those three guys. They came up through NXT or through FCW, made a big impact. So I don't just say those things to get the reaction. If I'm watching wrestling and I can enjoy the show in my own way, why would I not say how I'm enjoying it? Does it matter if I like Corbin being pushed if everybody else hates him? No, because I'm right. Did I not say one time when I started watching wrestling in '87, I think you were on this video, that I was a big fan of Andre and Bobby the Heenan against Hogan?
Yeah.
I mean, that's 7-year-old me not knowing any better, but that's just probably how I was wired. Well, right? How were you wired when you first started watching wrestling?
Well, I always liked the bad guys. I always did, but I was a fucking weird kid, dude. Like I turned out to be a pretty fucking weird guy.
Us were. It's okay.
Right? Yeah. But I loved Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper to me was absolutely incredible.
Yep.
Jake Roberts. I liked Iron Sheik. I don't know, because I had my superheroes in my cartoons. When I watched wrestling, though, I believe that they were really bad people. I believe that they were scary individuals, and that to me was entertaining to me, and I did sometimes want to see the hero prevail, but there's just something about the way they carried their
Savage and Macho King.
Yeah.
How great was that? When I started liking Ultimate Warrior, he was always a babyface, but when he had that feud with Hogan, he kind of took a step back as the top babyface because that was still Hogan's spot. Yeah. So the Warrior was kind of like he had his fans, but the Hogan fans hated Warrior then.
They did, yeah.
I liked Warrior because he had that edge against the comic, even though he was a comic book himself. It's fun to not like the good guys all the time, but
for sure.
Along the way, dude, I always enjoyed the good guys. It was just what you wanted to see at the end was when the good guys finally beat the bad guys, like in any comic book or superhero movie. You could say like me, I love the heels, but in the end, I still got satisfaction of the baby faces winning because I know that's how a story is supposed to be told.
Well, it's like the Hogan Sting thing, you know. And now looking back as an adult, I can see that maybe they didn't execute that match or the finish to that. But as what was it, 97? I was 12
Yep.
years old. Okay, I hated Hulk Hogan more than I ever have in my life because I wanted to see Sting kick his ass because of all the bullshit he put him through over the past year, and that's so out of character for me, but that's how good of a story that was. And that's the whole thing about wrestling. When it's a good story, when it can pull you in and suspend your disbelief, your raw emotions will guide you into things that you never thought you would. I never thought I would cheer for Sting. If you would have told me when I was a kid that I'd be cheering for this Beach Boy dude over Hulk Hogan, I would have told you were crazy. But I don't
And
know.
I never liked Sting up until that point. Then
I
it
didn't
was
either.
interesting.
Exactly.
Then it was interesting. You know, and some of his Joker stuff in TNA, you know, of course I like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, just fans like need to stop hating and stop, you know, we can all play fantasy booker and what we think should happen, but you know, and if creative's bad, you know, you can point it out, but just stop shitting on the wrestlers. You know what I mean? Just that,
It's
like,
the
I
fans'
hate
fault,
that.
though. It's the fans' fault because if let's take a look at that no DQ review that we did a few weeks ago when I had bad things to say about the AEW pay-per-view. It was the most downvoted review we've done in a long time. I had a lot of people in the comments telling me that I was an asshole. I had 5 to 7 people block me on Twitter, and I didn't say anything disrespectful. I just said my how I felt about the show, that I didn't think it was good as the last 2 AEW shows, and I was upset that I paid $50 to see it. But when when fans start defending things with this crazy valor, when no one can say something counter to that, that's when things start losing. Because if the wrestling companies don't know that something's stupid, they're going to keep doing it because they think it makes money. That's when you get people like Orange Cassidy making $100,000 to stand there like an asshole with his hands in his pockets because someone wasn't brave enough to say, dude, don't fucking hire your friend. He's not good for this job. So the fans just need to grow up. The fans need to get out of this bullshit because the fans are the ones that are ruining the entire industry.
Yeah, and you know, we can have opinions, we can talk about it, but like, can't we just tone it back and kind of like enjoy the show for what it is? You know, and if it's boring and it's the same old stuff, okay, well, stop watching it and then go to a product you like maybe AEW, and talk about that. But like, the negativity always has to come back into play. Isn't that funny? Now, there's subjective and there's objective, right?
Right.
We try to be objective, right? Where we don't really have, you know, we can see either side of the coin. Like, but there's been times as I've grown up as a wrestling fan over the years, I've done some indie stuff. You see stuff that you want to just believe that your opinion is right and better than everybody else's. But it takes a good fan, a good person, a human being in general, to, even if you strongly believe in your own convictions, like a wrestling opinion, believing in a pro sports team, you still at least can see why someone else would like something different.
Sure.
Right? And you can argue about it, but like, to belittle and demean or to just block and you know, like, that's ridiculous and that's toxic. And in that toxicity, whether that's a word or not, needs to go away.
Right.
And to me, Baron Corbin, it's either he's going to make it so bad, I think it'll purge itself and it might go away with a guy like him getting pushed as a top villain. That's why I wanted to talk about it. I have nothing further to say, Your Honor.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say either. I think we went into that, and I think I had a few 45-second rants to get all my opinions out, so I'm good, man.
All right. Tell everyone your Twitter.
My Twitter. You guys can follow me at NoDQVice. I love to get in any kind of debate. Again, I will never attack anyone as a person. I just want to have a good, honest conversation. And if you block me, well, I don't care. I don't give a shit. You can find me a couple other places. Virtue, if they want to find more of Vice, they want to find more of Mr. Virtue and the Virtue and Vice brand of wrestling, where else could they find both of us to watch, upvote, like, and comment?
Over on NoDQ.com, each week we do the No DQ review show. Rob is now a permanent staple of that. When we go off tangent or off topic of the review, that's because there's a pay-per-view event we got to talk about. So basically, that's the extension of the review. Rob's on those. I am for the most part. I mean, we had that SummerSlam mishap. But, so yeah, you can catch Robbie Vice and I over there at NoDQ.com. Also occasionally over on WrestlingWithWrestling.com. Andre Corbeil's page, which I know Big G's filled in for you last time.
Right.
You know, but Big G's got this whole Jamaican thing going now, so we'll see how that goes.
He's discovered a new identity.
But most importantly, right here on the BigVitoBrand.com, weekly Virtue and Vice brand of wrestling. So for Robbie Vice, I am Virtue. You can follow me on Twitter at @NoDQ_Virtue. Make sure you check out thebigvitobrand.com. We will see you next time.
The street, son.
I'm giving it to you hoodie style.
Do you think Tupac would ever say, I'm in my love nest with my lady? Or would he be like, I was banging my bitch? Think about it. What would Tupac do?
I got my hose over.
Yeah, see, better.
Yeah.
Be more
Got my hose over. Yeah, son.
Be more Tupac, a little less corporate.
Listen, when I was a bachelor, yo, you know, I had my Cadillac.
Yo.
I had white gin in the fridge.
Yo.
All right. We had dinners, lattes, jazz night.
You're failing.
No dancing, plenty of dancing, clubbing. Somebody's blowing up my phone. But anyway.
Who's blowing up?
Let's keep that aside, baby. You don't need to know my hoage.
I need to know your hoe.
No, we don't need it.
Vape Supply Plus in Port Richey, Florida is your place to go. One-stop vape shop, CBD, devices, mods, and more. 400 flavors, 30 brands. Vape Supply Plus, Port Richey, Florida.